This video was sponsored by BlueStacks, a free Android emulator that you can use to play Azur Lane and other anime mobile games on your PC. This will let you get better graphics quality than on your phone, and overall it will just provide a much more smoother and nicer experience. So, if you're interested, feel free to click the link in the description below or the pinned comment, and I'll see you guys in the video. See ya! What's going on? I'm Ander, or FBI Open Up, and today we're going to be looking at some gear recommendations for another heavily talked about top tier carrier, Saratoga. Since this guide will focus on using her at her maximum potential, I will be talking about her retrofitted version, as it is the sole reason for why she is able to compete with the other tier 0 carriers in the first place. In this video, I will be going over exactly why this is the case, as well as her recommended gears and her skills. With that being said, let's get into some potential gear loadouts. Moving into some Saratoga gear basics, after completing her retrofit, Sarah has the highest aviation stat in the entire game by a solid margin. She beats out every single other carrier in terms of raw damage, including the big names like Essex, Enterprise, and Centaur. However, this does not necessarily mean that she is the best carrier in the game, losing to the other big four in both my opinion and in Usagi-sensei's PvE tier list, as you can see right here. This is only because those placed above her are absolutely insane, totally broken, and are the complete package of what makes a carrier amazing. For a brief summary, let's go and head on over to them. We have first of all Essex, who is the best right now because she has a guaranteed extra airstrike that procs in addition to her normal one, that also inflicts extra flooding damage, which is the better version of the burn effect. She also has an extra damage increase to enemy battleships. Next up, she once again has even more buffs, which is an additional stat boosting skill that boosts her aviation even further when she is sortied with additional Eagle Union carriers, and she has yet another aviation boost when her planes shoot down an enemy aircraft. But guess what? That's not all, because she also has a third skill, where if there are 4 or more Eagle Union ships, she grants all of the ships in the fleet a 12% chance to reduce any aircraft damage down to just 1, basically negating all of that damage. Moving on, we've got Centaur, who you can find right here. She is yet another powerhouse. She does the same things as Essex with her extra airstrike, but instead of inflicting extra flooding damage with hers, she has a slowing skill that is extremely useful. On top of this, she has this overpowered airspace dominance buff that will allow your entire backline to deal a considerable amount of more damage for a couple of seconds. Now, third, we have Formidable, who you can find right here. And Formidable is not really as much damage reliant as the others in her tier, but her utility makes up for any problems that she may have. She has the same extra airstrike as Essex, with also causing additional flooding damage right here. And her signature skill right here, Don't Move an Inch, Zawurudo, is what defines her placement. So basically, for the first time she launches an airstrike, she will completely stop all the enemies on the screen for a whole 1.5 seconds, guaranteeing any kind of hitting any extra shots, being a battleship barrage or Sakura homing torpedoes. Basically, it lets you do a lot more damage very consistently because the enemies don't move at all. And of course, she also has an extra defensive skill that reduces the amount of damage she takes, as well as reducing the amount of damage the rest of her main fleet takes as well. Now fourth, right before Saratoga, is of course Awarida herself, Enterprise, who is basically right next to Saratoga Retrofit in terms of usefulness. Enterprise trades out all of Saratoga's flashy skills for a single skill that makes a single airstrike deal double the damage most of the time. There's nothing else to say. She gets the job done very well, and no one can complain. If you've used her before, you can obviously agree. And finally, we now have the person we're talking about, Saratoga Retrofit. Now, unlike Enterprise, Saratoga's damage comes from multiple different places, making her able to deal a lot more consistent damage, but a lot of this damage can be lost for a variety of reasons, causing many variables to pop up. Now Saratoga's first skill, Artillery Cover, shoots a couple of fireballs towards the enemy every 10 seconds. Now they deal a decent amount of damage to anything that they hit, and they're relatively accurate. However, sometimes they do miss, and that means that they are completely useless, which is the first reason for why Saratoga is not as good as the other carriers above her. Saratoga's second skill, go to the archive so I can show you it maxed out. It's called Fleet Carrier. It's a small buff to the Vanguard's damage after she launches an airstrike. Something very nice to have, but overall it's not going to change too much in battle. And finally, her Retrofit skill, Witch's Prank, is her main extra source of damage. Now unlike the other carriers above her, Saratoga's airstrike is not guaranteed, but instead it's sitting at a 70% chance, which isn't too bad, but if it does not proc, then of course she will miss out on all of her damage, which is a really big thing because guaranteeing an extra airstrike compared to a 70% chance is quite the big deal. Now, however, of course, it will activate most of the time, and it will deal a great amount of damage by inflicting both the flooding and the burn effects onto your enemies, causing them to take massive extra amounts of damage. Now, something about this skill that's really nice is that it covers one of Saratoga's weaknesses, which is the fact that she has no torpedo bombers in her loadout. Instead, she has 2 dive bombers. Now, the Witch's Prank airstrike actually has a couple of converging torpedoes that act as a great substitute for this weakness. Now, speaking of how Saratoga also has 2 dive bombers instead of a traditional 1 dive bomber and 1 torpedo bomber loadout that a usual carrier has, you might ask, what does this do? Well, this means that Sarah will be able to wipe the entire screen with her airstrike due to the sheer amount of dive bombers that she has. So these double SB2C Helldivers are going to absolutely decimate anything that their bombs touch. But however, this damage can be quicker than a torpedo bomber, but it will not be able to hit as many enemies. A torpedo bomber's strength is that their torpedoes linger longer on the screen as they have to travel from the left side to the right side, giving them a higher chance to hit something, as opposed to the dive bombers that just drop a ton of bombs onto the enemies that just result in a lot of instant death that does not last nearly as long. Now in regards to this, Saratoga's airstrike is best used when there are a lot of enemies on the screen that need to be cleared instantly. However, this isn't too big of a deal, so if you do just want to spam Saratoga's airstrike the second it refreshes, it won't really cause too much of an issue, so don't worry too much. Overall, Saratoga, even though there are a lot of ways Saratoga Retrofit can lose out on damage, is nevertheless a top tier carrier that I highly encourage you to level up, especially if you do not have any of the other tier 0 carriers that I've discussed. Now, you can't really go wrong with her in any fleet. You will always be able to find a way to contribute with a battle, either through her artillery cover, or buffing the vanguards, or of course her extra airstrike. And with that, let's go and move on to Saratoga's gear loadout. Now onto Saratoga's general equipment build. The first slot is the fighter planes, and the best in slot is going to be this F4U Pirate Squadron. You can buy this from the core data for 800 core. It provides great damage with its bombs, as well as fantastic anti-air coverage with its guns, and the extra Jolly Roger skill that it has that boosts the anti-air of the fleet by an additional 5%. The next best in slot is a 3-way tie between the Gold Repu, the Gold Seafang, and finally the Gold Hellcat. They roughly have the same damage output, and their differences are only worth pointing out for those who want to fine-tune their carriers' reload times. And of course, if you have none of these gold planes, the best purple plane for your budget is the purple F4U Corsair that can be dropped from 3-4. Now into the second and third slot, Saratoga has 2 dive bombers, and as a reminder, a dive bomber's prime objective is to be able to completely clear the screen of all enemies at a certain time with the instant damage that the bombs provide. Now the undisputed king of dive bombers that gets the job done absolutely perfectly is still no one other than the SB2C Helldiver. It has massive damage with its 1 2,000 pound bomb, as well as its 2 500 pound bombs. It is very accessible since it's only purple rarity, in which it can be found in US boxes on 3.2 and 11.4. Basically, it's the perfect dive bomber that outperforms all of its competitors, and by putting 2 of them on Saratoga, this is easily the best choice that you can make for it. The other dive bombers all have either inferiority in some way to the SB2C Helldiver, or just somehow manage to have some kind of flaw. The SB2C Helldiver is just the go-to dive bomber for any kind of carrier or anyone that can really equip them. So onto the final slot, the Aux Gears. As always, carriers have a pretty simple Aux Gear selection compared to the other ship classes. Just get your stuff that will boost the plane performance and you'll be fine. Of course, the go-to thing would be the Gold Steam Catapult. It's all around the best. It increases the aviation, which is your carrier's damage, by a very solid 100%. Now you can use this for basically any scenario. If you have this, it's the top carrier Aux Gear. You can obtain this from any gold box. The next would be the Homing Beacon. It's from Chordata. It lowers the airstrike loading time, and it can be used interchangeably for a gold steam catapult. Now most people, including me, run carriers with a gold steam catapult and a homing beacon. Now you can also use just 2 gold steam catapults, but the extra airstrike loading time that it provides is usually pretty good. So you can use either 1 and 1 or just double steam catapults. Don't use 2 of these homing beacons or you're going to lose out on some aviation. And moving on, we have the purple aviation oil tank. Now the purple aviation oil tank, right here, is the upgraded version of the purple steam catapult, because it has the exact same stats as the purple steam catapult, except it also has this extra skill right here. So you should use this 100% of the time over the purple steam catapult. Now of course the gold steam catapult is better than the purple aviation oil tank. I'm just talking about the purple steam catapult. Now finally, the last good option is the other Chordata option that you can buy for 500 core. It is the aviation fuel. It increases the speed of aircrafts and their HP, and it is a lot more situational than the other things that I've mentioned already, and it is primarily only used in PvP, as you can see on my Yuru Retrofit right here. However, if you have nothing else, then putting this on a carrier will never be bad. You still have a nice 70 aviation boost, and it is a great thing that you can go and put on. This is basically equivalent to a purple aviation oil tank or a purple steam catapult. Now with the gear guide for Saratoga finished, let's move on to the battle showcase. And of course, I didn't actually buy the St. Louis skin. I used the free rental ticket because I am too poor to afford it. If I had the gems for it, then I totally would have bought it. Anyway, we're going to be taking a break from farming D2 for the rest of my life for the gold baguette gun right here. It is the best DD gun, and of course if you're not farming it right now, you should definitely get to it, because it is very good. Anyway, we are going to be doing stage 12-4, and I'll see you guys there. On to the first battle. Let's just hop right into it. Something that you'll notice is that Saratoga will always be contributing in some way to the battle. As you can see with her, every 10 seconds her artillery fire will activate, shooting a couple of those fireballs. So right here, we'll have another artillery cover, as well as Ryuho's very nice healing. And shortly coming up will be Witch's Prank and her airstrike. Right there, you can see all of those dive bombers being very nice, almost clearing out the entire screen. They do a ton of damage, and they specialize in clearing that screen, and they do a very good job in doing so. So another artillery cover, and that will wrap up the battle number 1. Let's see who got MVP. And it is none other than Saratoga Retrofit. Nice. Moving into another battle. As you can see, a couple of Saratoga's artillery cover shots do kind of miss, but most of the time they do manage to hit. But that's just another little inconsistency of her. Right there, Ryuho procs again, North Carolina shoots her sodas, and Saratoga with her Witch's Prank again will be able to clear. Nice. Doing commentary over these live battles is a little bit challenging if I'm running out of things to talk about. So yeah, artillery cover, shooting again, Ryuho with her second airstrike, North Carolina back at it again with some soda, and boom, battle done, Bremerton's happy, and let's see who got MVP. It is Bremerton. Nice. This time, to spice things up, let's go and call in the submarines. And let's see whether or not these ships in the main fleet and Vanguard will be able to outdamage the overpowered submarines. So far, doesn't really look like it. The submarines are just completely shredding everything that spawns in a matter of seconds. Yikes. Well, that was a really quick battle. And let's see if they did manage to beat these submarines out. Oh, actually Saratoga did manage to. Congratulations, Saratoga. And yet another battle has happened, and I have these submarine options, so let's go again. Artillery cover, submarines proc all their barrages, and let's watch absolute chaos unfold. Blazing burst wings, dancing waves, swirling cherry blossoms, artillery cover, North Carolina's salvo shooting soda. Wow, that was really quick. So yeah, boom. Another 12-4 mob fleet completely annihilated. And this time it doesn't look like my main fleet was so lucky. The submarines have been victorious, with U-47 getting the top damage. Woo! Yet another battle. This is a 3-star difficulty one, so maybe this will be a little bit harder. Let's go and see if Saratoga will be able to go and hit more enemies because of this. So as always, we're just gonna keep on trucking along. Artillery cover procs, Ryuho procs, North Carolina procs, Q, goodbye, hello, and right there, as you can see, that's one of Saratoga's downsides. She did not actually activate her witch's prank right there, resulting in a major loss of damage. That little inconsistency just causes her to be rated a lot lower than the other top tier carriers that for some odd reason have a guaranteed extra airstrike, which is absolutely broken. That's a juicy shot from North Carolina, another juicy shot, and with another airstrike, Saratoga is able to finish out the battle. Let's see who won. North Carolina did, because she got all those juicy shots at the end. I skipped over a boss battle, well no, I skipped over a mob battle, but now we are here at the boss battle. I'm not going to be autoing it actually, I'm going to be playing manually, and let's go and see how quickly I can go and completely and utterly annihilate this 12-4 boss. Alright, we get this Harun out of the way, and let us begin. So as always, we shoot our Warspite barrage. The second Maya starts moving to go and hit both of them, and the second Maya comes near Chokai, stop them again, shoot all of our torpedoes at Maya's face, and Maya is almost dead, not quite though, and when she figures out, when she figure eights back onto the Chokai, shoot another barrage right there, and right now she is almost dead. Let's go and finish her off, and she is going to die in a matter of seconds, so she is dead. Shoot another Warspite barrage, let's go. Formidable procs, shoot a couple of torpedoes near her face, and Chokai disappears. There you go, that's how you go and kill the 12-4 boss. My other video, especially the Centaur one, was a lot more smoother, but that got the job done, and there you go. With that battle finished, that will wrap up my video regarding the gear guide for Saratoga. As always, if you found this information helpful, consider dropping a like and subscribing. Don't forget to press that notification bell for my future uploads as well. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions that need to be answered, and I'll try my best to reply. If you're interested, I do have a Discord server that you can always join if you need advice, or just want a place to relax. So that's all I have for this video. And you know what, we'll be wholesome today. We got a very nice Saratoga peace sign. And have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!